Women's bathroom, temporarily out of order. What do I do in this type of situation? Well, this is what I do. I use the men's because it's exactly the same as the women's single-use bathroom. Hi, welcome back to our channel. Today, I'm gonna do a couple of things. The first thing is I have a bunch of herbs in little pots. I have like dill, cilantro, basil in a few little pots, and then I have a really big basil plant that I actually brought back from near death. It was like 50% off at HEB, which is a grocery store here. And it was wilted, it looked ugly, but I saw potential, and it has become the biggest. There's a big truck driving by, and the dogs like to chase it. And it has become the biggest and best basil plant. So I went for my walk this morning. It's one of my days off, and before I go in and get cleaned up and showered, I'm gonna go ahead and create a basil garden. I bought this big tub from Tractor Supply, and I bought some soil, and I'm gonna make it work with the funds that we had. So that's what's gonna happen. Second thing I'm gonna do in this video is talk about what it's like to live in South Texas. I work with somebody who's a recent transplant from California, and some of the things that she says that surprises her about this area make me think that maybe people just don't know what it's like down here. So having lived all my life in Texas, I've not lived but I think 6 months in Arizona when I was like 5, but the rest of that has been in Texas. I've lived on a farm, ranch, homesteaded, and then I've lived in the city, San Antonio mostly. And so I'm just going to give you my perspective on what it's like living down here. Hope you enjoy this video. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already, and follow. We try to put out a video every week. Thought I would also share a little bit of my background for being out here. We live south of San Antonio. I am from San Antonio, meaning that's where I have been born and raised. My husband is from the Valley, which is right on the border with Mexico. And so I was raised here with my family, and I went to college here, degrees in nursing, and then, as I mentioned in a previous video, I have a wildlife biology degree. Now I know other parts of the country get hot. I know that because I hear it from other people. I'm just taking off this drain of this tank so that it doesn't hold all the water. Just got to remember where I keep it. So I've also, we homesteaded. I lived in this area for about 10 years and homesteaded, and we had dairy goats that I milked every day. Of course, we had a farm, we had chickens, we had ducks. We were gifted a few turkeys one year that we butchered and ate, and one of them raised a couple of turkeys. But I'll tell you this, domestic turkeys are the dumbest birds. I came home one day and our little turkeys had strangled themselves in the fence. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And the turkey had its head like inside of the barbed wire fence, right up against a post. So they're not the brightest birds. Okay, I got some sticks that I'm gonna put in the bottom. All right, so the biggest question that I see people unsure about or surprised about is the weather. Now I know it gets hot in other parts of the country. I know that because I have traveled, but I think what is unique about this area, maybe not, I could be wrong, but what I can tell you what happens is it's hot for a very long time here. So not only do we get very hot in the hundreds, but it stays hot. I've heard about people who say they pack up their summer clothes and they get their winter clothes out. And I actually know people who live down here that do that. But personally, I don't see how that's possible, because while it may not be hundreds of degrees here, it gets into the 90s well into October, sometimes November, December. I think we've had 90s in February. I never pack up my summer clothes because one day I will pack them up and then it'll get hot the next day. Recently, that coworker came in and she said she has her fan. She's fanning herself. She comes in the afternoon shift. I work the morning shift. And she says the air is angry because not only does it get hot, it gets windy. So some of our afternoons are extremely windy. So you have this hot, hot air and these high winds, and it's pretty miserable at times. What are winters like? They're usually beautiful. Although the last few years, we have had snow, which is rather unusual. So it gets hot May, June, and it gets humid. Come July, August, the lows are like 80 and the highs are 100 or above. So, and that lasts, like right now, it's mid-September. I think we got to, my house got to 100. However, we've had a few cool mornings, which is nice. It really doesn't cool down to what's comfortable to maybe the end of October, beginning of November. And by cool down, I mean 80s for the high, 60s for the low. So you can see I have some sticks in the bottom, and then I'm gonna add sand on top of it. I don't know if there's anything harder, well, I'm sure there are harder things, but having a flat tire on my wheelbarrow just sucks. I need to inflate it. Just haven't yet. I knew it was flat before I started using it, but I just grin and bear it. Christmas, it's been hot, like 80 degrees before, 85 degrees. We've had a couple of cold Halloweens, and by cold I mean like 40s, 50s. It rains in the spring, like most places. We do get floods. We do get tornadoes. We do get a lot of that. As I mentioned earlier, there's a place called HEB. HEB is the grocery store in Texas, if you haven't heard of it already. It stands for Herbert Edward Butt, I think is what it originally stand for. But I think now they say here everything's better. But HEB is the grocery store. San Antonio used to have a Kroger. We no longer have a Kroger. We do have Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, but most people shop for their groceries at HEB. Now I live in a small town now. We got an HEB when I was living here before. We used to have to go to San Antonio to go to HEB. All right, so that's the weather. If you want to have more questions about Texas, what it's like living down here, how we found our property, how we came to live where we're at, our life stories, please ask us in the comments and maybe we'll make a video that explains it more. So, you know, to homestead, you need a place where you can grow stuff, animals and food to eat. So you need, for one, a place that doesn't have restrictions on those things. Two, you either need the soil in the ground that is good for you, or you need to be able to bring it in, which we currently live in sandy soil, which I'm okay with for a couple of reasons. One, it drains really well, and when you have as many dogs as we do, 4, that if you had clay or loam soil, that turns to mud when it rains, and then the dogs bring that mud inside. The sand, it just falls off falls off and it doesn't stick to them like mud would. See this little plant? I'm going to talk about the plants, native plants. We have plants here that grow in the hot sun, and I call them sticker burrs. I think they are also called sand burrs. They don't just grow in sand. They grow in all types of soils. And then we have something, so the sticker burr is nasty because the dogs will get it in their fur and then they'll bring it inside. They get it in their fur and they bring it inside. And then you end up stepping on it, or it's in your bed. But we have this other plant on our land. It's called a bull nettle. Bull nettles, when I make it to heaven, hopefully I will, I'm going to ask God why. 3 things. Why bull nettles? Why mosquitoes? And why ticks? But bull nettles, they like to stick in you, and then they have some kind of venom, and that causes a horrible rash. I don't have any videos of the rashes that we've got from them, but it's nasty and it's painful, and the pain lasts a long time. Would love to get rid of the world of bull nettles. Of course, you have the wildlife that could get after you. You have snakes. I've seen a coral snake. I've seen a copperhead. I've not seen a rattlesnake here. I've seen a rat snake. Seriously thought it was heavier, but it's not. Let me show you about this on the basil, in case you didn't know. See how it's going to flower? You want to pinch those off. Unless you want to go to flower, which I don't. This basil also is bolting, which I don't want. I'm going to pick off. But I think you'll find most Texans are welcoming, kind, friendly, inviting people. There it is. I'm actually going to move this one a little bit further out. What do you think, Max? Totally forgot about these 2 plants. This is a mint, and this is a rosemary. So that is our new. Now I have an herb garden. I had herbs in pots before. Give it a good soak in. This is a curry plant. I've never cooked with it, but I love the way it smells. If you're looking for peace and quiet and land, then you have to go outside of San Antonio. South Texas has a lot to offer. I plan on staying here as long as God wants me here. So I try to do what God wants me to do, and if that is stay here for as long as He has any plans for me. But I will garden. We'll still have my dogs. Hopefully have some chickens by next spring. I think that's it for this video. I thank you for watching and following along. If you're here every week, I thank you for that.